All right, guys, how you doing? We're going to do this again today. It's Crusty Old Crow back again to do the Tactical Perspective Toy Review Show, whatever you want to call this series. But this one's going to be, I'm calling this one a SITREP. It's not going to review a figure. We're going to talk about the current news in Hasbro as I've perceived it and interpreted it off of the reports coming out of Hasbro most recently through October and into November here. And then I'm going to give you guys my spin on everything, on what I expect to see and what we know is coming and what I think it all means. So why am I doing these videos? Because I see a place for them, and because quite honestly, guys, I think I want to grow this channel a little bit. And it's not because I want to be a content creator. I don't consider that my thing. I want to make positive videos about Joe. You know, there's rooms for all sorts of videos out there. There's a lot of critical ones out there. There's a lot of update ones, and there's a lot of reviews. And I am nothing different in that. And in fact, I'm quite lazy about it, doing the one man gig, one camera, no editing. But I do see that somebody's listening, and I do see that more people listen the more videos I make, and the more people are watching, and the videos are the subscription is growing. And here's what I'm going to say, and I'm going to say it early out here, guys. I only need to get to 1,000 to accomplish what it is I might want to do here. Well, no, I do want to do it. When you get to 1,000, I'm told that YouTube pays, and I don't need the money. I really don't. I'm retired. It's fine. I want to do the giveaways. I want to go, oh, here's our next giveaway, you know, and all those things, and I want to do them. I want to do them on YouTube's time. So let's keep spreading the word about Crusty Old Crow and his channel and his annoying ramblings. But his perspective, that'd be great. And when we get to 1,000 subscribers, you know, you'll all start reaping the rewards as regularly as I can, giving away deluxe sets and whatever I think is relevant. I'm going to probably focus on army building for you. Anyways, who's inspiring me behind all these update videos? Besides the subscribers who come back and actually give me some feedback, I have one real big important inspiration for this that I want to talk about. That's the guys over at Viper Island. I think they're actually Canadian, and that's great. I'm pretty sure Liam and Dexter are Canadian. Viper Island is one of the most relevant G.I. Joe classified things I've seen on YouTube. Out of all of it, I started just watching the odd reviews, then I started doing my own, and I slowed down on watching other reviews because I didn't want to constantly repeat other people's points. But Viper Island is one of those update shows that they go to they review everything that's dropped at the major conventions like the Hasbro Pulse 1027 or upcoming Comic Cons. They stay very current, and they're quick to make the videos about it, and they are phenomenally edited, put together. I can't give enough credit. And the Fans First Talk Show, they do the giveaway. They did the giveaway, and I said, that's what I want to do. They are having so much fun over there, and they are a very positive G.I. Joe YouTube channel, and I am all about them. So big shout out to Viper Island, and thank you for inspiring me to keep rambling on about G.I. Joe. So enough about that. So today, what I'm going to go over is I'm going to be talking about what's been dropped all so far through October and into November. Some of the name-only reveals and the digital renders, what we know was talked about at the cons, what we can expect from the retro line coming up. We're going to make some predictions, big time. We're going to talk about the HasLab His Tank for a bit, and yeah, the PulseCon reveals, my take on them. Viper Island, guys, their predictions are incredible. They are usually, you know, I'd say at least 80% to 90% accurate, and that's what made me want to do my predictions. So I'm doing predictions for the next 4 quarters of the show. So basically what I'm hoping and thinking we're going to see into 2024 from Hasbro and HasLabs. As with everything in the military, that was my introduction. Again, I'm Ryan, this is Crusty Old Crow. This is the Tactical Perspective SITREP. Questions at the end. If you get tired, stand up. So the first thing I want to get into, guys, is I'm going to get into finding my notes. That's what I'm going to get into. I'm going to unplug the tablet so we have some imagery. And we're going to talk about first things we learned at 1027. So as reported by others, and remember, I don't own any of my images here off the internet. This is strictly through Google searching, but 1027 just went down, and what we know is that they really focused on Metalhead and Junkyard, right? So we know that we see the packaging now that they're coming with, and then we know that they've gone to the plastic packaging again in a presentation box to show all the kit, and stepped away from a bit of the digital rendering, right? So we've got that with Metalhead here, and there's what we're expecting with Metalhead, and now the pre-orders are out for Metalhead and Junkyard. I think I have Junkyard more forward. There's Junkyard. Oopsie. Right, so we know the pre-orders are out now for them. You can see that in Canada, and I think in the US on Amazon. They're getting ready for the pre-orders, but here in Canada, I did mine at GameStop, and there was no deposit required. So they talked about that's one of the more recent updates that we got on that. You see me keep popping the ferret up. It's because at the cons, I can't remember if it was the London Comic Con, I think it was, they dropped the vamp images for the box and everything, the packaging, and maybe it was a previous con, guys. Don't consider me accurate. I'm Wikipedia. Right, but one of the big conversation things about what went on with the vamp wasn't so much about what the vamp's coming with, or as I talked about in another video, what the price of the vamp was going to be. It was this. It was the Cobra Ferret stashed away in the background, okay? And you saw me scrolling through my images earlier, so you knew I was going to talk about this. So I've got opinions on seeing the ferret. I expected it. It's going to have to be a retail on the shelf sale vehicle that you know, and it's expected now, right? Like, this is the thing about the digital render boxes, and what we're going to lose with the plastic free package, or the plastic packaging returning, right? So with these digital renders, they can drop Easter eggs and kind of let us know who's coming, what's coming. Give you a little bit of blurry speculation as to what the next wave might include. It's fun. It definitely gives us all something to talk about, and it's hopeful, right? But at the same time, when we go to this new plastic presentation packaging, we're going to probably lose the Easter eggs, right? So that's enough about the Metalhead, the vamp, the ferret, which this is my opinion on it. I'm not overly impressed with this as a digital render, and I hope this is just a placeholder for something a little bit more intricate, because this looks very basic and plain. A basic plain, almost too much like the original, in that I think when we are trying to modernize the Joe, we have an obligation to get into the detail and make it look a little bit more rugged and modernized and whatnot. And from what I see in this rendering of it, I'm not going to go into the rider. That'll probably be a whole new thing for Cobra troop building, but I see a very 80s style construction to this, as opposed to what they're doing with the modern construction of G.I. Joe vehicles. So I hope you guys can see that clearly enough. I'll push right up. But yeah, that doesn't have me as excited as the conversation around it would lend us to believe. Moving down the line, I'll talk about what's next in these images. I think it's the Target exclusives. Yeah, Target exclusives coming up. So y'all down in the south, these Target exclusives are coming, and I'd say I'm excited for you, but I'm not. There are Python Patrol Target exclusives that were announced coming, and we're going to see them in Canada, probably at Toys R Us. And, you know, they're not without their potential, and they're not without, you know, a fan base. There's clearly a lot of people that do like Python Patrol and want to see it succeed as its own little army builder thing. My issue is that I think it's really hard to look at. And I leave it at that. So you guys can expect the new Copperhead to come out. I wrote it down. That's my second opportunity to pass on that figure. I still don't have Copperhead in my collection, either version. But you're also going to start seeing the Cobra Officer. I guess there was a huge naming convention issue with Cobra Officer. They've got it, whatever, sorted out more or less. So we're going to see that. And this isn't the best photo. I apologize for the quality of the photos. And you're going to see the new Televiper and Flight Pod coming out again. And this time in the Target exclusive Python Patrol colors. I don't care. That's my opinion. I still have not been able to get my hands on a Televiper and Flight Pod here in Ottawa, Ontario. And it's not like I'm not willing to pay for it. I just cannot find one. And I know that they've been out. I just haven't seen it. So I would almost feel a level of contempt to be forced to buy this Flight Pod because the original was so unavailable. And I hope that's not the case for you guys. I hope that that's just something isolated to my region and our shipping availability. But moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the HasLab stuff and the HIS tank. So we know that the HasLab HIS tank is now packed up, ready to go, and the orders are getting shipped up. And they've shown us the box render with the figures included. We know that they have moved on to a 3-pack HIS strike team kind of thing. That will inspire more people to invest on them once they become more circulated. But the price points on these is they're not cheap. I know they're more than the vamp, more than probably 3 or 4 vamps put together. And it deters me from ordering it only because I don't know what else would be removed from my disposable income budget while I rationalized this large purchase. But what a phenomenal large purchase. You can see that the HIS tank is coming with all those unlocked class features as the project got funded. You know, it's got removable side spawns and missile clusters, which I think are amazing, like anti-armor weapons for a tank. Gee, that's great because the turret and cupola is more light armored vehicle weaponry for soft skin vehicles or medium skin vehicles, and then, you know, anti-air cupola, anti-air weapons, and anti-infantry weapons. And then that big exposed canopy, which they're going to give you 2 types, right? And some add-on armor components, choices of decals, and you're going to get, you know, multiple crew. You're going to get a driver, you're going to get a crew commander, and a navigator, I believe it is, or something like that. An engineer, who knows? And then the new Cobra Commander, right? So do you get your values worth it at HasLab? This thing lights up. It is a diorama centerpiece. It's an investment that's probably worth every cent. It's out of reach, and a lot of what I talk about when I get into my HasLab, my criticisms about Hasbro, about being predictable, is to allow for us to plan for budgeting in things like this. Okay, so that's the HIS tank, and let me know. That is really what I want to see in the comments. One of the things, if you guys want a question of the day, I guess the first one would really be, did anybody buy this? Is anybody just waiting on it right now, or have it already? And did you buy more than one? Do you have pictures? I can enclose my email in the comments if you guys ask. Send me the pictures, you know. And also, did anybody follow up and order the Dragonfly and the Wild Bill and all that stuff? I'm curious. I really want to invest in this stuff, but it's just slightly out of my grasp at this time, and it's not impossible. It's just, you know, that's a responsible choice I'm making to curb my collection, right? So we've talked about the Target exclusives. We talked about the HIS tank. What are we expecting for pre-orders coming up? Okay, so one of the ones we're expecting is the Shadow Tracker pre-order. Should be coming up for pre-order already or soon. I think in the States these have, but in Canada I haven't seen them come up. The Wolf Spider, this is the one I'm the most excited about, and this goes more along with the I think the Night Force line, where we've seen And I think they both are, actually. Well, no, this one for sure is the Night Force line, which is, of course, where we're seeing some of the Walmart exclusives go. So the Big Ben and Jody Shooter Craig. Right, so Wolf Spider is another kit bash of previously seen parts and pieces. Right off the bat, I see some Falcone kit in there and some add-ons, right? Probably, you know, it's still a phenomenal looking kit, and it's a shout out, I think, to the Valor Force universe, which is another great parallel that you guys keep telling me about. God, this would be a great introduction to it for me, and I'm hoping to be able to secure one way or the other, but I'm having a hard time even getting Big Ben and Shooter right now. We should be seeing the pre-orders for the Vamp and Clutch soon, and also the Techno Viper and the SMS should be coming up for pre-order soon, as well as the other Techno Viper that, pardon me, the other Techno Viper variant should be on a singular, and that'll have other, you know, it'll be a repaint of the one that's coming with the SMS, whichever came first. You know, so we'll see that, and that's about all I'm covering for that. Yeah, so with this one, I think before that we have an upcoming con coming up in, I think, Birmingham, England, and December 3rd, I think it's coming up. It'll be a 3-day con, and usually at these cons, just like the guys at Viper Island have taught us, you know, they'll do a drop. They'll do what's coming up, or some new digital renders, or package art, or brand new releases, or they give you a little nibble of what's down the road. And I think one of the few things we should expect is just like with Mutton Junkyard, and oh my gosh, there we go. Mutton Junkyard and Metalhead. I think all we're gonna really see at this con is just a confirmation of what's coming. And we'll see a box art for the SMS coming, and maybe that'll have a new Easter egg everybody will get excited about something we can expect from Joe. Stalker fell. I'll find his beret later. That's what you get for being me. All right, so what else do I want to talk about? Blah blah blah. Okay, let's talk about the retro line for a minute and what we know is coming out from there. Okay. They've talked about 2 new sculpts of 2 old figures that you already have in your classified collection, guys. Pardon me for doing that. So we're going to get a brand new sculpt for Duke, and we're going to get a brand new sculpt for Scarlet, right? So there's your Duke that you probably have in your classified line, or the Tiger Force one, which is off camera right now. And we'll talk about what to expect with Duke. Everybody's cheering for a jump pack, and I can see why. You know, Duke and his jump pack was a thing for sure, and it's iconic, and it's what you picture Duke, you know, flying, flag, jetpack, all that stuff. Jetpacks are out now because of Steel Core, and we have them, and we remember back to Grand Slam and a jetpack as well, guys. So the road is paved to finish off that original line, because Grand Slam and Jetpack. But we're getting Duke. We're getting a new sculpt. This is what they've promised us, as new sculpts of these. This isn't going to be a rehash sculpt, repainted and slapped together with less kit. New sculpts, new molds, all that stuff. And so you can kind of picture where we're going to go with Duke. So let's talk about Scarlets for a second, because it's not going to be the first time we've seen Scarlet. Good Lord, no. We have a lot of Scarlets out there with mixed opinions around all, but none of them I think are terrible. But this new mold for the retro Scarlet is something that we've already seen circulated in Glenda. Glenda is the one of the characters unlocked for the HasLab Dragonfly. They basically had already processed and made the molds for the new Scarlet that they were going to release into the retro line, and then decided to use Glenda for that mold as well first. So technically, the Scarlet mold was made for the retro line first. It was a new mold for Scarlet. Glenda's the Klingon, okay? So they're not misreporting that new mold there. Okay, so we got a new Scarlet coming, and there's, of course, the G.I. Joe Classified Scarlet, which is the one I have, guys. And you know I'm a big fan of that one by comparison. But the most exciting thing I'm looking forward to is, of course, the new Recondo. This is going to be the way you're going to get your original Recondo, and I think it's going to stay that way for a while. because of course the classified decided to do the Tiger Force variant first, right? So this is the one I'm the most excited about. I am so pumped to get it, but I don't know. Is anybody else having a hard time kind of figuring out where and when these things show up on shelves? I'm finding the retro line very hard to predict where you're going to see the figures, and then they sell it really quick. So I don't know if the supply stock is going to go up on these or what, but I really hope I could get this one. Another one I heard speculation on, and God, I hope it's true, is a new beachhead, a simplified beachhead, putting him back into the available range. You guys heard me, I keep going on about Beachhead and the Alley Viper, the original Alley Viper, two figures I wasn't able to get my hands on because I didn't jump on this train early enough, right? So when I heard about a new Beachhead coming on the retro line, and I think what I heard is that he wouldn't have the beret or as many weapons, he would be trimmed down to the initial release version of him. I got excited about that, and I wanted to see more, and I'm hoping that's something we're gonna get. The last one I know we are getting, that we got confirmation on there in October, was the retro variant of the Snow Serpent. So this is gonna be a scaled down, as you know, Snow Serpent currently out there to be paired with the Arctic Bat, to be put up against Snow Job deluxe sets. Selling like wildfire out here and very hard to pin down. Even on Amazon, they're up and they're down, I find. One day they'll have this guy up, and the next day they'll take him right down. And I get why a lot of people want this set. So I think the retro version is going to go very well. I think it's going to come with a scaled down version of this. And what I'm hoping they do with the retro set, and I think they are doing it, it's basically ditching that rocket launcher for a mortar. Yeah. So that's what we're expecting with the retro series, and you'll probably get something closer to that kind of a sculpt without these wolf options and other things, just a scaled down version, right? And I'm excited about that. Are you excited about that? Why aren't you excited about that? Troop building, troop building, troop building. Of course, one of the things they're speculating a lot about with the retro line is everybody's waiting on another Cobra Commander. That's one I don't get. Like, yeah, I get you need to have a Cobra Commander in your army. And I get there's different types, but this one will be another version of the Chrome Dome, the plain blue one that you're getting with the Hiss tank, and the one that they put out with the Mickey Mouse, and they you know, all those variants. It's not going to be a new hooded one. It's going to be they're expecting another Chrome Domed one, and I was just like, pardon me for belching. Oh my gosh. I was just like, is that really what the market is demanding? Anyways, enough about that. So also in October and into November, we also got some new digital renders of what we're expecting and new characters that we're going to see coming down the pipe. And again, these are ones that I expect maybe we'll start seeing some packaging art, or the new plastic packaging with display boxes start showing up for some of these guys come the December con in England there. But one of the ones, let's get my list back so I can stay focused there. One of the ones is Quick Kick. I think if guys have watched my other videos, you know I kind of have some mixed feelings on Quick Kick. I feel like he's a little bit, what's the word? He's one of the ones from the 80s where they got to be careful with, and I think they were very careful with them, and they gave you a lot to work with here. But again, Quick Kick is that Bruce Lee stereotype Joe, and either you love him or you hate him. I think more people love him, and I thought the character's kind of cool, but it's just one of those ones where it's like, I'm glad they stuck with the homage to the original. I felt like there was a real temptation to try and pat him up and not make him look so stereotypically Bruce Lee in this new era. I'll say it, this new woke era. I was surprised they went with it, and I'm glad they did, and they did just enough to kind of make everything functionally sound and modernized just a bit, like with backpacks and yeah, the multiple hand features, the facial features. It looks like he's getting some sort of thrown shuriken feature, or Yeah, it looks like a clear blue plastics, like throwing star effect. That'll be interesting. I want to see how that plays out. We got the digital render for Airborne, one of my personal favorites from my childhood. I remember me and my buddy Mike used to get together and play Joe all the time. And when we both saw Airborne coming out as a release, we were holding our breaths to finally get them. And we both got them on Christmas and we were both really happy. And I don't think I could ask for anything more as a true modern representation of Airborne. You got his lightweight weaponry. He's got his pack with his. It looks like he's got his cam net and everything scrimmed up there, but he does look like he could be dropping in by shoot. He's got his bump element. He's got everything I want. I'm like very excited about it, Airborne. We also got the digital render for Big Boa. Not as excited about this one. I feel like he's another example of just going a little when they took the Joes and said, let's push extremes. He was sitting there waving at them with his boxing glove going, do me it. And that's kind of where I feel like they kind of landed on him as well. But he is coming and it's a risk. I'm not sure. I almost feel like Big Boa is going to be the croc master up here and be the peg warmer. And I wonder if I'm right about that. I wonder if Big Boa is going to be a peg warmer. Anyways, let's not be negative. Let's just be positive. Big Boa is going to sell like hotcakes. All right. Also coming, this is the one everybody's expecting with bated breath and really hoping they do some groundbreaking stuff here. And I am too. This is one where if you're going to pull a rabbit out of your hat in the con in December, in England there, the Comic-Con, this is the one you pull out because the big deal with this one, right? Everybody's still going to be kind of basking in their buzzer and rippers as they come in and they start rounding up their dreadnoughts with Zartan and Zorana and whatnot. And we're all about the blast effects, and this one's coming with flamethrower blast effects that I think is going to get a lot of people excited, especially photographers, dioramists, and things like that. So you can expect to see the sales kind of go up on that one, I'm sure. And I think everybody's excited about the Torch release. Who else did they drop? They've been talking about Doc. There's no digital render that I saw for it. I think there is, but these are the ones that they're talking about coming soon. Doc, I think we're expecting, and I would expect to see things like a stretcher with him and maybe some modernized first aid kit. What I'd like to see on him, you know, like keep that figure as much to the original as you did. May almost like consider treating it like a retro, but definitely give him a modernized foldable stretcher of some sort or stretcher options and a backpack that reflects having first aid gear and a defib unit. I think those are the kind of things you want, the artificial defibrillation units and things like that. That screams combat first aid and medic and whatnot. And I think that's what we're all hoping Doc will bring to the table for your collections, right? And you can see other variants of it have thought of that, right? Or guys who do conversions. We're also expecting a new Jinx, or the first Jinx. And there's been promises and commitments made to this that Hasbro acknowledges they're going to stop reusing the Akiko molds like they do with the Blue Ninja and the other whatevers that they've been using it for. Quite a lot. And this is going to be its own new mold. And there's even hopes, so I think, that they're going to do a deluxe set with this. So I'm excited to see when the digital renders are available for that, if they're not already, or when the packaging is coming for all that, okay? Iron Grenadiers, they have to be coming. They will be coming. I think I heard a drop that they are expected to be coming, and we should probably be seeing them before the snow melts in 2024, I imagine, as you do have Metalhead, who is attached to the Iron Grenadiers, already coming out. So you can hope for guys like Voltaire and all the other Iron Grenadier variants that'll come with that and the repaints, but you'll get another troop builder, guys. That's what we're all promised here, is a new troop builder in the Iron Grenadiers, right? That's the way. So, you know, adding to all the Cobra Army builds of the Snow Serpents and the original Cobra Troopers and Officers, the Python Patrol, the Crimson Guard, now you have them. Isn't that great? All right, and there's some renders of older versions and variants of the Iron Grenadiers. Cool. So what am I going to talk about next? All right. So here is my list of predictions for what we're going to start seeing. Starting, I'm going to try and get specific. If Hasbro is doing a quarterly schedule for the year, these are my predictions from April 2024 to March 2025. Okay, and I'm just going to try and keep it down to 5 per category and not dwell too long on them, but I'm doing this for fun because I want to see how many I get right? Viper Island, Liam and Dex, you guys you're like Austin Matthews with a puck. You're going to get the points because you're going to get it right. I'm working on it. Let's see if I'm close to that. Let's see if I'm Mitch Marner. Okay. So when I talk about what the next 5 Joes are going to be, as far as classified releases and not retro line or Tiger Force or anything like that, here's what I'm expecting to see, or I hope they surprise us with at some point in the next year. Short fuse. Why? Because you need a mortar soldier represented for your infantry that you focus so much attention on with rock and roll, grunt, all the other infantry. Everybody's subspecialty is infantry in the army, right? That's your secondary task. And a mortar is still a very current and very well-used piece of kit. However, we have much more modern mortars in here. And you can see that, once again, when they release short fuse, if you take the example they had with Grunt, we could be looking at another troop builder for the steel core sets and going there. So I think a short fuse is a must. We have to have it. Okay, the next one, blowtorch. Why? Because you're going to lend viability to a previous purchase that maybe some fans struggled to justify. You made 2 versions of barbecue. I know up here in Canada, the Marauders version, the more common over-the-counter big box store version, it was a damn peg warmer, and now it's on clearance sales up here for under 30 bucks, which is not great, but I mean, it's still showing that they had an abundance left over. By making blowtorch and making this possibly even a deluxe set with the same flame effects that you're going to give torch from the dreadnoughts, I think it's going to help the fans with having accepted or even wanting to rebuy more barbecue. And this one, I think you're forced to do it right. One of the biggest complaints I had about barbecue was not having that second head sculpt. And I think if you did a deluxe version of not barbecue, who is this? Sorry, blowtorch. If you do a deluxe version of blowtorch here, you're gonna get that head sculpt in there. You do this one up like tripwire, give it the couple variants. This one will be all right. This one will go okay, I think. And I think you need it. Number 3 on my list is an original ripcord. For those of you guys following the Dragonfly HasLab project, one of the chapter add-on buy-ins was a Night Force ripcord for that gunner seat on board Yo Dragonfly. So we need to counter that with an available non-mortgaged, like mortgaging your house, acquired ripcord. So I think we're going to expect to see either that show up in a other classified series, or potentially in a retro card down the line in 2024, 2025. This one, I think, absolutely, well, they all absolutely have to happen. They will happen at some point, but I think these are the ones coming next for sure. Why? Mainframe. If you needed to modernize a character more than Mainframe, I would like you to name them, because Mainframe is one step away from looking for an old phone cable to plug into his backpack and the sound effect of going off in the background when he walks in, like he is dial-up. We can do a much better Mainframe with the team at Hasbro right now. Right? You got your naval reservists who know what the modern military uses for your computers, right? If you don't like them, give me a call. But this thing could go places. Why else mainframe? Guys, I don't give into the lore. I didn't watch a lot of the cartoons, and I get what you guys tell me, and I watch what I can to just grow my knowledge base. But he has a background with Serana, and you've already released Serana, and you're trying to promote the Dreadnoks. Do a mainframe. Get him out there, right? You need a comms guy besides Breaker, okay? And mainframe, yeah, he's more tech. It's not dial tone, but it's still the same vein here. You need more support guys, and mainframe is an interesting one. Okay, another one I think needs to come in a deluxe set again to promote those older purchases that seem like one-offs in your collection is absolutely Wetsuit. All right, so we just did Torpedo, and I think that's a wicked ass figure. Eel sold well enough that now I find up here in Ottawa it's almost impossible to get for unless you go to Amazon and pay like what, 140 bucks I saw it for on Amazon. But you do a deluxe wetsuit set with a lot of the modern underwater propulsion equipment that the naval divers are using, and you still do the figure the way that it was presented with the removable helmet this time as opposed to the one piece like you did. I think you're going to have a very successful figure, and I think we should expect that. I think what it is about Hasbro validating previous purchases and pairing guys off into their fire teams is very important, and I think they need to do that, right? So you go back and you give Barbecue a buddy with Blowtorch, and you give Torpedo a fire team partner with Wetsuit, right? Those are concepts that will sell. All right, so my next top 5 is who are the next top 5 Cobras that I think are coming out, or wish were coming out. Okay, so one of the ones I think needs to happen is the Desert Commando Storm Shadow. All right, I think it was dropped on the Desert Commando Snake Eyes box that we should expect something, right? You had Storm Shadow back there, and yeah, I guess it could look like the original sculpt, but I think that's a red herring. I think there's something else coming. If you guys collected Joe's after I did, maybe you're more familiar with this, but here was another interpretation of them. Okay, so you have a more Middle Eastern approach to the Storm Shadow character. Okay, and you can get a better look at that. I do not hate that at all for a re-envisioning to put them in a different element. The very first Storm Shadow in the classified line was that dark blue and white Arctic type of Storm Shadow. Then they followed it up with the traditional white with the hood. Then they did the retro, which is the one you saw in my collection here, right? I think there's room in there for this, especially with the Desert Combat camouflage, Desert Combat vein of G.I. Joe, because they haven't really gone into that. You have Desert Commando Snake Eyes, you have Dusty. That is all. All right, so maybe some new Desert Combat Cobra Infantry, maybe some new Storm Shadow. Or if not Storm Shadow, at least a new Desert Combat type of like Middle Eastern ninja type. All right, so that's one of the things I think are coming there for Cobra. Oh yeah, see. There we go. Look at that. Look how cool that could get, right? With claws, you already got those with the nunchuck. You could add all sorts of stuff to that, and I think you'd have a really cool Storm Shadow coming and fulfilling that desert element that you started on with the Desert Commando Snake Eyes. Okay, another one I think is coming, and this is one Viper Island. They nail it, and I can't disagree with it. Every time they say it, I'm like, you guys are so smart. Road Pig. If you're going to have a Dreadnought that's going to draw eyes to your collection, I think it's going to be a Road Pig. Yeah, you got Torch coming, and I think Monkey Wrench is on its way. But Road Pig is one of those ones where I think it has to happen because it's so simple, and it's such an eye catch, and you know it's going to promote those Dreadnought sales as well. So I think they'll get Road Pig out of the way early. We might even see him at a simultaneous release with the Dreadnought vehicle and its driver there, okay? Road Pig, so very cool. Crystal Ball's another one that I think Liam mentioned at Viper Island that I was thinking is coming as well. I think it's another one that it's got that era of fiction and lore and mythology and mysticism to it that you know, the shadow tracker kind of captures it for Cobra, but you can, the closest to it is Dr. Mindbender after that, and that's a deluxe set that's very niche to buy. Like it's a pricier set. Crystal Ball, I think, will be a regular release that we're going to see coming up in 2024 to 2025. This one, next one, I'm not a big fan of, but I think it's got to happen just because the Iron Grenadiers is Voltaire. This was right around when I was growing out of buying G.I. Joe and more into my comic books at the time. But I can see a resculpt, and I think this carries over into the Valorverse as well. So I think the marketability of this figure is there on a more outside of Canada, US for sure as well. But again, this is just me speculating. And then Nemesis Enforcer. You've got your Serpentor Deluxe set. I think a Nemesis Enforcer Deluxe or Comic-Con or one of those exclusives, PulseCon exclusive. I think that's going to be coming up the pipe this year to sit nicely next to your Serpentor. Those of you who were fortunate enough to buy that. All right, so what do I think? And there he is. Look at him. Look at him. And if you're like me, I think he's goofy as F. I am not a fan of Nemesis Enforcer, but I respect those of you who love him, and I get the ideas of why. And just imagine the scale and scope of the sculpt that would be with Nemesis Enforcer, especially if you are capable at home right now of picking up your Serpentor and admiring the beauty of what these Hasbro renders are like. You can see that. As much as I don't like Nemesis Enforcer, I'd probably be more than happy to get the one that they're going to put out. And they will put it out. So talk about next is should I talk about my HasLab prediction? All right, yeah, I'll talk about my HasLab prediction, guys. So HasLab prediction for me, I think the guys over at Viper Island, I think they are seeing the Cobra Rattler with Wild Weasel and all them, and they're probably right, and they probably heard something that maybe alluded to it, or maybe they're just so well instinctively at their job that I'm out to lunch. But here's my pitch. I think it's got to be the Snowcat. I think Snowcat has to be the next one. Here's why. All right, you want to talk about what they did with the His Tank. They're going to do this with the Snowcat because it's already proven ground. You'll have that canopy that you can switch out just like the His Tank. You'll have add-on features that you can take on and off the track area, probably, like these ski missiles or the missile rack and things like that will come off. You have some potential for a troop carrier here if they were to make those removable. If they were to put some crowd-funded features onto this, you could see more characters coming, right? So we already have a winter element happening in the classified series through the Snow Serpent, through the Snow Bat, Arctic Bat, and through Snow Job, of course. So who else could you get? You could get Frostbite for your driver. You can back your Snow Job that you bought, right? And God, do I ever want that figure. I can't. Well, when is this coming to Ottawa? Anyone know? But then you can, just like the tier unleases, you can add Blizzard to it, right? So now you've unlocked Blizzard because there's enough funding, and a weapon because there's enough funding, and you unlock Iceberg, right? So you see where I'm going. That's, I think, the way ahead for HasLab is to put that one out there. You're going to be able to make it versatile with troop carryability and indirect fire. It answers the tank support that you need to fight off the HasLab His Tank. Yeah, you have the Dragonfly, but if the Rattler came next, then I think the Snowcat would have to come after that, or switch them up. Snowcat, then Rattler. Is that my compromise with Viper Island? Is that my safety bet? Do I get less return on that bet and worse odds? I don't know. So what do I think is coming next for the next 5 vehicles for the actual retail shelf, right? This is part of the Joe thing. They're doing it with the Vamp. They're doing it with the SMS. There's going to be a retail bracket for vehicles coming with the next year. that you're going to need to get ready for. All right. So we know that the SMS needs something to tow it. So you know Cobra's going to come up with its own vamp. I'm not going to make that a prediction. That's coming. Whatever that one, Striker or whatever, that's coming. Okay. The vamp is coming. That's coming. Joe will eventually apparently get its own version of the SMS that it had back in the 80s. So we can write off that as a prediction. Here's mine. You're going to get a Fang. I don't know if you'll get a new pilot with it or a new Cobra Trooper that reflects the original Cobra Troopers, but I bloody well hope so. All right, so Cobra Fang, I think, has to happen. And maybe that is how they kind of push the Rattler back or make it even more sellable, is by developing an Air Force for Cobra. Another one I think is going to come, and I think this one, again, will justify a wetsuit release, and it justifies the torpedo release, is the Shark. I think this will bring us a very advanced version of a Deep Six character and a mildly sizable, probably about yay big. Anyways, using about the same amount of plastics and price point as a Vamp, you could have the Sky Shark, and I think that answers some more diversity options for the Joe collectors, and I think people could get excited about that. So I've talked about the Fang, the Shark. Let's go with the one that's the elephant in the room, especially when you look at what's been going on with the 3D printers. Last look at the Shark. Okay, and that is our friend Senor Skyhawk. Okay, this one, if you want to do it right, you don't even have to throw in a driver because it didn't come with one when you were a kid. So you throw that one in and you could actually drop that price point down. And now you have a troop builder vehicle that I think you could price point that under 70 bucks easy. For Canada, I could see it being about 60 bucks. For the States, I could see it being about 40 bucks, right? And I could see you collecting multiples of those. So that's a Skyhawk. And then to pair off with that, if they do end up adding to the Arctic aspect of things, I think they would be remiss not to do the polar bear for Snow Job, especially if my HasLab prediction were right. This would be a marketable toy on the shelf, an absolutely low price point, and very nostalgic for all of us. And you already have the Ram, so you can kind of picture where that would go. Maybe that's how you get another a figure like Blizzard or Iceberg, is you do them with the polar bear this time. And then my biggest one, and I am adamant this will come, but I'm thinking this will follow that Desert Combat theme that they might have. I don't know. As the All Striker with crankcase. I think that's definitely going to sit at the exact same price point that we're going to see the Vamp sitting at. And I would expect news on that, maybe even digital renders by 2025 if HasLab is doing their job. And I think they are. Those are my predictions for the next 5 vehicles. Okay, for the next 5 retro, or not next 5, next 3 retro cards, guys. We know Rakondo's coming. I've heard Beachhead's coming. Snow Serpent's coming. Scarlet, Duke. These are the ones I think are going to come, and why. I think it's going to be Major Blood on one of the new retro cards coming. And the why is because of the inavailability of the original set that came out. And if it's not going to be on a retro card, it's going to be a direct release within this next year because the demand is high. And you have to meet that demand. I think it behooves them to meet that demand, especially when you're going with so much army building in Cobra. You want your generals. I think after that, my pick for a retro card is going to simply be Footloose. Again, possibly another troop builder for the Joes, but more specifically another solid infantier with a bit more detail from the other infantiers that you can add to your collection. And I think it's in the same vein of what they're doing with the Recondo retro. I think Footloose deserves his due on that aspect. If you're not going to make him a regular classified, definitely make him a retro. And my last one is this one. You know I have a thing about this guy, and it's Zap, okay? Zap rounds out that old collection. I'm not going to get into Steeler and the Mobat because I think that has to happen as a HasLab, but Zap has to happen. And it's unfortunate to me that he has to come after Bazooka. Bazooka is such a crowd favorite, but Zap is he's an OG. He's one of the originals. All right, and I think maybe a Desert Combat version of Zap or the original would be good. I'd love to see that receding hairline translated without a helmet, like really show it off. The pencil stash, all that stuff. Maybe give them different type of anti-armor weapons. Stay away from what you gave Bazooka. Give them maybe a javelin or an air, like a different type of wire missile set, or a bunch of, M72 M72s or M203, not an M203. Yeah, maybe a C7 with an M203 or M16 to M203. Just make them different enough from Bazooka. I think that's got to happen. Okay, we're getting through it. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for the retro card stuff that I wanted to talk about. That's where we're going to go with that. And what I want to see under the other category coming out. Here's my big prediction, something I think Hasbro's going to do soon, guys. And I think we should be excited for this. You saw my other video, I talked about clawing back funds. Accessory pack. I think we're going to start seeing some of these weapon packs coming out in a box, maybe with stands or dioramic pieces, things like that. I think they're going to do that. You're also going to start seeing some singular artillery pieces for your Vamp to tow. And I think the Whirlwind is probably chief at the top of that list. And the reason I think that is because they already have a Gatling gun mold for the barrels. So I think those are going to be relatively easy to do, and not throwing a figure in it puts it at that low price point and supplements, it really augments a Vamp the same way that the SMS will add to that Cobra Vamp when that one comes. Okay, so guys, that has been it. That's my perspective on what we've heard coming into going out of October into November. I'm gonna harp again that Hasbro has really kind of opened the taps on their releases, and it's important, I think, to be responsible on what we're going to show them we're willing to put our money into and the order in which we do it. Just as I think it's on them to respond to that and pay attention to it and even address it in their briefs. If you like this video, guys, you go ahead and hit like. If you want to comment on that, please absolutely do, especially about the Hiss Tank of the Dragonfly, if you back that. If you have your own predictions, or did I blindside you with a prediction, or anything you want to say about this video, you do so in those comments. If you are enjoying this stuff and you want to help me hit that subscription target where I start giving away stuff, start spreading the word, and let's see if we can grow this channel together. And guys, you know, as far as I see it, I owe you all a debt of thanks for letting me get this far and giving me the confidence to kind of go out of the way on this G.I. Joe rambling. That's it for now. We'll see you next time on The Tactical Perspective. Later.